What if I told you there's a group of people who are drawn, almost magnetically, to the cracks in others? Not because they want to judge, not because they want to gossip, but because they see something the rest of the world overlooks. These people notice the quiet sigh in a crowded room, the fake laugh covering a hidden wound, the story hiding behind a scar. And while most pass by, the INFJ stops, studies, and wonders. Why? Because to the INFJ, brokenness isn't ugly. It's a puzzle, a mystery, and sometimes, a map to the deepest parts of the human soul. But here's the twist. They don't always admit this, even to themselves. Their fascination with broken people is often a secret study, a quiet obsession. And when you uncover why, it will change the way you see them forever. There's something almost magnetic about the way INFJs are pulled toward brokenness. It's not a conscious choice. It's not like they wake up one morning and think, who's hurting today? Let me find them. No, it's more like an instinct, a pull deep in their bones. While others might avoid pain, INFJs seem to walk straight into its gravity field. Why? Because brokenness tells a story. A scar hints at survival. A weary smile whispers of battles fought in silence. And the INFJ, with their rare blend of empathy and intuition, can't help but lean in closer. To them, this isn't weakness, it's raw humanity on display. The world may see the broken as damage. The INFJ sees them as layered, complex, and worthy of understanding. It's not about fixing people, at least not at first. It's about seeing them, really seeing, in a way most never experience. But here's the catch, this magnetism is double-edged. For every soul they study and connect with, the INFJ risks carrying a weight that isn't theirs. And yet, they keep coming back. Why? Because brokenness, to them, is where truth hides. Step into a crowded room with an INFJ, and watch what happens. While most people notice the loudest voice, the brightest outfit, or the most confident laugh, the INFJ's attention drifts elsewhere. Their eyes catch the quiet one in the corner, the slight tremor in someone's hand, the flicker of sadness that vanishes just as quickly as it appeared. They notice the cracks, not the paint. This ability isn't about being nosy, it's about intuition tuned so sharply that the unspoken often feels louder than words. To an INFJ, body language, tone, and silence all speak volumes. They can sense when someone's, "I'm fine," really means, "I'm breaking inside." And here's where it gets uncanny. They don't just notice, they feel it. Almost like emotional Wi-Fi, INFJs pick up signals that most people's minds don't even register. This makes brokenness visible to them in ways others would miss entirely. But this gift carries a challenge. Once an INFJ notices your pain, they can't unsee it. It lives in their mind, pressing on them until they either lean in to understand, or struggle under the weight of knowing. Here's the paradox of the INFJ. They are natural empaths, wired to feel what others feel. Yet, at the same time, they are acutely aware that too much exposure to pain can drain them dry. It's like standing by the ocean. You want to enjoy the waves, but if you step in too deep, you risk being pulled under. When INFJs encounter broken people, their instinct is to comfort, to understand, to almost merge with that person's emotions. They can slip into someone else's shoes so easily it feels second nature. But this gift has a shadow. If they're not careful, they start carrying pain that doesn't belong to them, mistaking someone else's storm for their own. So, they create boundaries, but silently. You might never know it, but inside, an INFJ is constantly measuring. How much of this can I hold? How much will it cost me? Sometimes they step back, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. This paradox defines them. They are both healers and protectors, protectors not just of others, but of their own fragile energy. And still, the pull toward brokenness never truly fades. It's part of who they are. To most people, brokenness feels like chaos, messy, heavy, something to avoid. But to an INFJ, it looks more like a puzzle waiting to be solved. They don't just see the cracks, they see the patterns within them, the hidden logic behind someone's pain. Every scar, every guarded glance, every sudden mood shift becomes a clue. Think of it this way, while others see shattered glass, the INFJ sees how the pieces once fit together, and how they still might. They analyze silently, putting together fragments of story, memory, and emotion. Not because they want control, but because they crave understanding. And this isn't cold analysis. It's deeply human. INFJs study pain the way an artist studies color, searching for depth, meaning, and the truth hiding beneath the surface. They know that behind every broken piece lies a reason, a loss, a betrayal, a longing. To the INFJ, brokenness doesn't equal weakness. It equals truth laid bare. And truth, no matter how messy, is beautiful to them. This is why they can't look away. They're not just watching a wound, they're decoding a story. If you've ever wondered how INFJs study people, here's the secret. Their laboratory isn't a physical place, it's everywhere. The bus ride home, a coffee shop corner, even a late-night conversation becomes data for their inner world. They observe quietly, collecting details others dismiss as background noise. An INFJ will notice how your tone changes when you talk about your father. They'll remember the way your hands fidget when you're nervous. They'll piece together the inconsistencies in your stories, not to catch you in a lie, but to understand what you're not saying. For them, broken people are like living novels, full of footnotes, subplots, and hidden chapters waiting to be uncovered. But here's what makes it shocking. They rarely reveal this. You may never know you're being studied, because they keep their discoveries locked away in their inner world. That hidden vault becomes a library of human experiences, lessons, and secrets. And while it sounds almost clinical, it's not. For the INFJ, this is how they connect, how they prepare themselves to help, or sometimes, how they protect themselves from being blindsided. The world is their secret laboratory, and brokenness is the subject they can't stop exploring. Here's something remarkable about INFJs. They don't always need to say much to make broken people feel safe. Their healing power often comes through presence, not prescription. Sit with an INFJ in silence, and you'll notice it, the way the room feels softer, calmer, less heavy. It's almost like their quiet empathy creates a shelter where the storm outside can't reach. Unlike those who rush to fix, INFJs understand that healing often begins with simply being seen. They don't shove advice down your throat. Instead, they listen, really listen, in a way that makes you feel your story matters. And for someone carrying brokenness, that simple act can be more powerful than any solution. What's even more surprising is how intentional they are about this. INFJs know their presence has weight, and they wield it carefully, almost reverently. They're not trying to be heroes. They're trying to give space where pain doesn't feel judged. But here's the hidden truth. Sometimes their healing presence works too well. Broken people can become attached, drawn in, even dependent. And the INFJ, though flattered, knows they've stepped onto fragile ground. The gift of healing is beautiful, but it always comes at a cost. For all their quiet strength, INFJs pay a steep price for caring so deeply. Every time they step into someone else's pain, they carry a little piece of it home. It doesn't matter if the conversation ended hours ago, those emotions linger, echoing in their mind like a song they can't turn off. This is the hidden burden of empathy. It's not just noticing suffering, it's absorbing it. And INFJs, with their sponge-like hearts, often soak up more than they can wring out. They replay people's words, analyze the silences, wonder if they could have done more. Over time, it's exhausting. The irony? They rarely complain. INFJs keep smiling, keep showing up, while quietly burning out inside. Friends might think they're strong or resilient, never realizing the private battles they fight after giving so much of themselves away. This cost is why some INFJs retreat suddenly, disappearing from relationships or social circles. It's not rejection, it's survival. They need solitude to reset, to untangle what belongs to them and what belongs to everyone else. Caring, for an INFJ, is both their greatest gift and their heaviest cross. And yet, despite the toll, they never truly stop. Why? Because brokenness keeps calling them back. Here's the irony. INFJs are fascinated by broken people, but they rarely admit it. On the surface, they might seem calm, private, even guarded about what draws them in. Why? Because their interest can be easily misunderstood. They fear people might think they're prying, pitying, or worse, trying to play savior. And nothing makes an INFJ shut down faster than being misread. So instead, they keep it quiet. They study silently, help discreetly, love subtly. You'll rarely hear them say, "I'm drawn to brokenness," because they know how vulnerable that sounds. To the outside world, it might even look like weakness. But to the INFJ, it's simply who they are. There's another layer too: secrecy protects them. If they reveal just how much they see and feel, it can overwhelm others, or invite people to take advantage of their compassion. By keeping their fascination private, INFJs maintain control over how much of themselves they give away. So yes, they love to study broken people. Yes, it shocks even them sometimes. But they hide it behind careful words and quiet smiles, carrying truths about others in silence. Because in the end, their study isn't for recognition, it's for understanding. This is where things get complicated. Are INFJs actually attracted to broken people, or do they simply feel called to them? The answer isn't always clear, even to the INFJ themselves. On one hand, there's definitely a pull. Brokenness feels familiar to them, almost magnetic. Many INFJs have carried their own invisible wounds, so when they see pain in someone else, it sparks recognition. It feels like, "Ah, you speak my language, you've been where I've been." That familiarity can create bonds that feel strangely romantic, even if that wasn't the intent. But there's also the mission side. INFJs often feel a sense of duty, like they were placed here to help heal, to guide, to make meaning out of suffering. So when they encounter brokenness, it's not just attraction, it feels like a calling. Almost sacred. The challenge? Sometimes those two forces collide. The INFJ can confuse compassion with chemistry, or responsibility with love. They might step into a relationship thinking they're following their heart, when in truth, they're following their mission. It's a fine line, and crossing it can lead to heartbreak, for them and the person they're drawn to. And yet, the pull is always there. At the heart of it all, the INFJ's love for broken people is both a breathtaking gift and a dangerous edge. On the one hand, it allows them to offer something the world desperately needs: deep compassion, genuine understanding, and the kind of listening that can help a wounded soul feel whole again. For someone who's been overlooked or dismissed, meeting an INFJ can feel like finally being seen for the first time. That's the gift. But the danger is just as real. INFJs can lose themselves in the process. They can forget where their story ends and someone else's begins. Broken people, no matter how lovable, can sometimes lean too heavily, draining the INFJ's energy, leaving them depleted, even resentful. And the INFJ, reluctant to let go, often stays longer than they should. So what does this mean? It means INFJs must learn balance, loving without losing themselves, helping without carrying every burden. When they get it right, they become extraordinary healers, catalysts for growth and change. When they don't, they risk drowning in the very waters they long to rescue others from. That's the paradox of the INFJ. Their secret fascination is both their power and their peril.